There we go. Oh, there we are. It says we're connected, and we know technology would never lie. So, very good. We are connected. And of course, there's a little pop-up that says that the AI is initiated. Got to have the AI. It's, what are you doing?
Hello, everybody.
That's, who are you? Well, good day. My goodness. Oh,
Hello.
hilarious. That could be our new intro, right?
We
Like
need intro music still. Still got to work on that.
we do, we do. We got to work on that. I got to figure out how to, I got to figure out that skill, but I will. I will figure it out.
Yeah.
Skills. Hashtag skills.
Hashtag this. I wrote this book,
Okay.
and I'm not sure like if you guys have read this book or not.
Everyone.
Well,
Oh my goodness. No, I have not.
I
Is it
didn't.
true? Should
I
I
I know
know?
it's blurry. No, I didn't write it. Somebody else.
But
I
is
had
it
to buy
true
it
about
because
our
of the. I had
family?
to buy it because of the name.
Oh, Alan is with us today. Yeah, I totally agree. Good day, Alan. So grateful to have you with us today. I was just thinking about you and what we were talking about earlier. Alan is going to do some sharing today with us.
Oh, nice.
I love that. Yes. Excellent. So super happy to be here with you today. For those that don't know us, I am Michelle. That's Tom. We're connected and we're thrilled to be here with you today. How's your weather this week?
Right now, it's actually nice. It's probably about 24, but it's overcast and a bit of a breeze. So it
Okay.
feels after all the heat, and we're just bombarded in BC with fires, like it's just
I
horrible.
know. Mm.
And so yeah, I think I like all weather. I like when it's raining. We don't get much snow. I mean, snow's okay. I'm in a different situation than you because when it's cold, I'm not on a lake where
Right.
it's damp cold, which is
Different.
I
Yeah.
would like. Yeah, so it's pretty nice. I think we're going to have weather come up to 30, 38 to 40 again.
Oh, wow. Do you like that? No, no. Hey, side note, different question. Is your coffee sold in Ontario?
Why?
I just want to know. I'm an inquiring mind.
If you go to shamelessclubcanterbury.com, um,
Mm.
it's I don't think you can get it retail, but I know that we have some reps out in that area. So
Oh,
um,
interesting.
I had somebody ask me a little while ago saying, if something ever opened up in Ontario, would you move there?
Ooh, you
And I
would,
was like, oh, hope nothing opens up because then I don't have to make a choice.
right?
But yeah, that would be pretty far from my girls and my granddaughters, and right now I'm doing a lot of help with them. I told Em to check and be on, but I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
Emily.
Oh, Krista, I love our 1 to 2 days of snow. um, they're working through trauma, right? So
Sure.
I love that we can have phone calls. We keep in
Mm,
touch. My daughter, she hears not whatever she'll whatever, but she doesn't ghost me. But because she's dealing with just like she's pretty honest with me and stuff, right?
yeah,
But all of a sudden, I won't hear from a few days, and she's exhausted, right? And just
sure.
so I was telling her and my 12-year-old granddaughter, I said, I just want to encourage you again. It's so important to get counseling, or it's actually a therapist is what they should have.
Yeah,
And
for
the reason
sure.
saying that is with this group, this is kind of in kind of a cash way, a bit of a group therapy,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
And it's good. And that's why me and Michelle a lot of times say, hey, throw some questions, say hi, do whatever we want. Like we're confident in talking. It's not like we're not confident in that,
Right.
but we're actually here not just to tell everybody our thoughts and that we want to hear about you and what you're doing and how can we help, right? So
That's right. And maybe that nugget of information is something that is going to help us, right? You never know. I mean, we're in this lifelong journey together and
yeah,
it's not going to be perfect. Mic drop. It's just not going to be. That is not realistic. So I
You
noticed,
ready?
yeah, don't do it. Don't break your mic. I
I
gotta go.
mic dropped for you.
You did. Ah, that's into a pillow. Into a pillow. That's right. See, look at Alan. I told you you're going to share today. I wholeheartedly endorse therapy or counseling. It's made such a huge help for me personally. I honestly agree. And I think everybody at some point in their lives, I mean, a lot of times when you go to counseling, they're asking the questions to make you to help you, not to make you, but to help you figure out the answers. We have the answers, but they're clouded by things, or we don't have the confidence, or we're scared. That's a really big part of it, right? Which actually ties in with our topic today. Alan, while I have your attention, do you mind putting in the chat that book you were telling me about? So she was mentioning to me a good book that she read on topic. So she
Nice.
was, yeah, so I thought that was pretty awesome. And so she was reading something about what we're talking about today. So I thought that was good. And that's the sharing I'm talking about, not to necessarily put her on the spot. Like I just did. Exactly right. That's
And,
right.
and as we're doing that, this whole idea of therapy and counseling. So in some places in our culture, it could, for some people, makes you feel like you're weak and needy, and I say this gently to the right people, like kind of get over yourself, just be honest with yourself, right? But here's what I was talking to somebody at the beginning of this week on Monday, a psychologist, a friend of mine who's actually bachelor, doctor, whatever, way more educated than me, and he said mostly psychology, or majority of psychology, is talking back and forth. It's There's something about being able to process our feelings and thoughts, and even jokingly, even if you talk to yourself in the car, there's probably some form of therapy.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, sometimes that's when you have those aha moments because you're
Yeah,
actually going step by step, playing it out.
right.
Sometimes that's when I correct myself and I realize, well, that doesn't sound right, or I'm missing a step. Maybe that's what it is as well. Another thing, another activity that's very helpful is, and there's power to pen and paper. I can't explain it, that's not my forte, but writing it down. I mean, a very healthy exercise that
100%.
people do is they write something down and then they burn it in the fire. Or I used to have a law of attraction group, and here when I did a lot of things with my friend Sandy that used to watch our Facebook Live, and we did this great activity where, and everybody has their own way of doing things, but you wrote things on a Japanese lantern, and then we sent it up and let it go on fire up into the universe over the lake. I think we were pretty anxious about not hitting any hydro lines. That's a whole nother story. Nothing happened, nobody was injured, but it was a release, right? And we did it as a group, and yeah, so lots of great activities in that. And I think it's owning it. It's like keeping a diary. That's the power of keeping a diary, right? Is you're sharing, even if you never go back and read it again. If we talked about forgiveness. So that's a great example. Like, I don't need to call up somebody and say, do you forgive me? I need to forgive myself for my part of it, right? It's a one-sided but twofold thing. So yeah, we're really fascinating beings when you look at the mental part, and you look at how something physically cannot change in your surroundings, or you're in the moment, but having that release, or changing your perspective, or whatever it is. And I think sometimes too, that's where you have to have that time to heal, or the time to take some emotion out so you're not as emotionally attached. I think that's a good part of it too. Thank you, you guys. Look at you interacting. I love it. Very good. Yeah, so Krista says it helps to talk through things out loud. I find you come to some of the answers while you're talking. Absolutely agree. Alan says all about self-worth, self-identity, and living as our authentic selves. Who is that girl? Stand up, please. I love that. Very good. Because we can be other people, right? I mean, we're not physically other people, but maybe the bar's too high. And this all starts off into our topic today, right? I mean, your identity, what it really is, what we think it is, what we want it to be, expectations, all that great stuff, right? It's all very important. What are you doing? Is there a hockey game?
What's that? You talking to me?
Yeah, yeah. Are you here? Are you what?
Yeah, I'm my work laptop is got this, it's so quiet and it's at 100. So I have an external, very cool, glowing speaker,
Red light,
but
green
I should
light.
have set it up before the meeting. But anyways,
Well,
it's
we
fine.
can't shit on ourselves all day.
No, no. And see, before we kind of get going, were you able to get that clip we talked about?
I was not,
Okay, no problem.
fortunately.
It's
Yeah.
a secret. But it's so funny as we get going with this thing. Because I'm a thinker and some of us are thinkers here, some of us are just trying to recover through trauma, some of us just trying to find peace and rest. But I'm intrigued by our human, like our last week we talked about nurture and nature. So there's something incredibly exciting about our DNA and makeup and components of that are physical components and mental components. And there's something about this nurture of this influence. And so you just mentioned, or I think Elaine put something there about our idea of being authentic, right?
Right.
Especially in a Western culture, we grow up with a huge amount of idolization. So part of what it is, we there's nothing wrong with being inspired. Inspiration is a good thing,
Totally.
but we live in this thing is that like I want to be Wayne Gretzky. Oh, I want to be Heidi Klum. Oh, I want to be, Clint Eastwood or whatever these things are, right? I want to be Bono. I want to be, I don't know, Kenny Rogers, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's a real Western ideology. So the thing is, when you've got something that's good, the thing is, it can, depending on our mental wealth. That's another word I learned today, mental wealth.
Ooh,
That's a good
yeah,
one.
I like that.
But so part of it is even in siblings, because you and me talked about siblings and us not being raised together and that, even with siblings, you can have, and this would come out of nurture, you can have somebody who, wants to be like their older brother. And then you can have another family next door that they're so discouraged by their older brother, and say the older brother could be an athlete or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it really, there's so many components that depends, but our goal, and we've touched base on this lots, our goal is to, let's talk about being authentic. Let's talk about, and it's a journey, by the way. We can't give, it's not a how to do for dummies book, but how do we try to find our true self? Because I'll tell you what, if we can do that, Michelle's one of the people, she's not all there yet. When you kind of accept who you are, right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
And the journey you're on, you don't get dislodged for what didn't happen today. You just accept. You always talk about no, not coincidence. What's the word you use? No,
No
not coincidence.
coincidences.
It's
Yeah.
this. It's everything is meant to be.
The synchronicities, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And so, and there's just lots of different groups and groups of faith too, where it's this thing like learn to be at peace, right? So when we do that and we embrace who we are and we want more for ourselves, we become healthy. So all of the, like right now, me and Michelle were talking before, the negativity in our world today, everything is, majority is influenced by the US. So just leave that. We won't talk what's going on, but just that example, right?
Yeah.
So people will either avoid it because it's too stressful.
Yeah.
Or they're intertwined with it so much that they're lost.
Exactly right. And I think that's such a big thing. One of the things that Alan had put in the chat is what culture says we need to be. And I think that's such a big thing. And those outside influences are always going to be around. So, we have to realize that we're not going to fit in that box. We wear so many different hats. So with every hat, some of them you're better at than others, but first, like sometimes you feel like, well, to be a good, like, let's say we have little kids, so I should be the helicopter parent. Should I be the parent that goes and does the lunchroom? Well, maybe I hate doing the lunchroom, but I feel like I need to, because a good mom would do the lunchroom, but I can't stand the other moms because they're mean moms, or whatever that internal dialogue is. But I suffer through that every Wednesday at noon, because somehow I feel that's what a good parent does. Like, this is where you're not being your authentic self, right? Or and that comparing is so interesting. Like in our family, three boys, four girls, none of us are the same. Like, as far as our relationship upwards, our relationship sideways, the whole thing, because we're all, and this isn't anything about not being raised together. This is just reality, right? So, do we have different expectations, and as the parents are aging, there's that other dynamic as well, right? Like, it's interesting how many things we carry on our shoulders that we really don't need to, right? And then again, of course, perspective, as we know, is a really big thing. I'm going to tell you, when, and this, but my adopted mom and I, we had a very estranged relationship the last 5 years that she was alive. And that, well, right till she died, I went and visited her at the end. But I carried guilt. But then there's a lot of other dynamics that I'm not going to go into. But in those moments, in those years that we did not have a close relationship, it was so weird. The whole thing got so weird. But in those years, what did happen? I remember and I don't know if my niece Jessica watches this or not, but for years and years, my mom wished that, like, she had a very good relationship with Nicole, but my niece Jessica, her only other granddaughter, she always wished she had a really good relationship with her. After me and her had a couple incidents, her and my niece Jessica, they got so close. They Jessica would take her grocery. Jessica slid in where I slid out. And I look back on that, and going back to the no coincidences, I really think it was destiny. And I really think my mom died with love in her heart for the relationship she had with her granddaughter. It's just so interesting, right? And it's not justifying that, whatever happened between us. But when you look back with in a cold, not emotional state, it's very interesting how that relationship just came together as a falling out of what happened between us. And I'm at peace. She's forgiven me. I forgive her. All is good. But it's interesting. If I was in that emotional state, I never would have had that revelation. I don't know if revelation is the right word.
Yep. No, and the funny thing is, we haven't talked for about a month about, I'm going to bring it back, hashtag, we know what we know, we don't know what we don't know. And we can only know things through, this is funny. This I'm gonna read another thing about psychological identity. Here's the funny thing, right? When we're raised,
Yeah.
it could be raised. I've got very good friends of mine, Canadian, white, whatever proper word we're supposed to use. And this lady is a friend of mine's wife, was raised in India. Her parents were missionaries in Calcutta. So
Okay.
all she knew
Yep.
was her environment. She would have noticed that she was like the odd one out per se.
Right.
Very kind people, not nothing, no negative stuff, right?
Right.
And then when they came back to Canada, I think she was in her late teens, like 18, whatever, right? And then you have this this kind of shift, right? So this thing, I'm going to read this quote again. This idea. Here's some freeing. Let it out. Let it go. Let it go into the cosmos. Here's the thing, right? If you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know, and if you're in a place that you go, I believe there's more, then you have to find what you don't know.
Right.
That's too long to be unsure. You
Absolutely.
have to be willing to surrender, and sometimes it's fearful. Surrender fear. Like it's. I'm saying this because what you said about your mom and this thing. It's like, oh, like, like, does that make me feel sad? Am I devalued? Am I not important? And again, our culture is about being number one, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and I put something on the wall. Everybody, you can look at later. And it was the thing. The term identity is most commonly used to describe personal identity, or the distinction or the distinctive qualities or the traits that make us individual. So we live in a culture where we will kind of shout or champion we want to be individual, but see, I believe less of what is said in culture, and I believe more what I see, right? So here's the second part. Identities are strongly associated with self-concepts, self-image, in brackets, one's mental model of oneself, self-esteem, and individuality. So again, if you've got somebody that lived, I've got a very good friend of mine. He runs a coffee. He works at a coffee. Doesn't even run it. I just came here from Africa, from Kenya, I think, about 3 years ago. Oh, nicest guy. He goes, we didn't have electricity.
Yeah.
We walked 10 miles to somebody with a radio, and he talks about in that sense of their sharing. They didn't have much, so they didn't know about having not like they knew they were poor, but they didn't know they were poor, right? So he said he was wide open. It goes, holy, he like never saw like snow, all this stuff, right?
Right.
So that's all good stuff. But after being here 3 years, he goes, I kind of, with all the good stuff comes all of these, like he sees it because he's fresh eyes. He goes, people are not trying to be them. They're like, we walk around in the cities. He's in Surrey, so he's in a big part of Vancouver, and he goes and he serves customers really nice. He goes, I'm confused sometimes because I just feel people like looking down. They're not aware. You can tell that they're not content. There's something. They're driven for more.
Yeah.
They want to be who they aren't. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so true. It's like that old saying of keeping up with the Joneses, right? And I do believe like we just have too many options. It's like, you're going to look for chicken noodle soup at Walmart. There's 1,800 kinds of soup in that
Yeah.
row, right? Like so many options. And somebody that's trying to have a wellness journey, all the mixed information. Should I fast? Should I do keto? Should I do Weight Watchers? Should I do nothing? Should I, visualize I'm slimmer and stuff that works out? Like all these different things. And again, of course, the quick fix, right? It's not much unsimilar. That's a proper sentence. Than that video we watched with the teen girls,
Yeah.
right? Like, what are we setting them up for? And when you see, like, and I think it's the same men and women, is that we have this illusion by the things we're exposed to, TV, movies. That's why I've sort of cut off Hollywood. Like, I really like doing my, everything's from 20 years ago because I've never watched the Kardashians. I'm very proud of that.
I was gonna say when you said keep up with the Joneses, I was thinking, oh, that's so old school. It's keep up with the Kardashians, which I've never watched.
Yeah, see, I haven't either. And I'm so happy that even the reality shows, I don't, because they're not real. They're an illusion. I mean, now, mind you, full disclaimer, I do like the ones like we talked about where there's like a trust challenge, or because that's our vibe, right? We're like our gig, we're into that sort of stuff. But anything like cheating, even survival, I'm not too bad. But when it starts feeling more like, do you know what I mean when I say jump the shark? Do you know that term from TVs? Like when, okay, when we used to watch Happy Days, when,
Okay.
right? And then when you jump the shark, we were just beyond reality now. Like he's skiing with a leather jacket, he's jumping a shark. That was when the show turned a corner. So that's what that term means. And so I'm particular on that stuff. But yeah, like a lot of people really, and again, without judgment, it's been a slow process. Like you don't just get caught up in all these all these systems and all these shows that makes you want to, have a butt like Beyonce or whatever.
Already have one. No joke. I don't. I'm not showing it, people. Slow down.
Just one picture. But that's over time, right? It's like all the ways that we beat ourselves up mentally. That didn't just happen. When all of us were little and we were learning to walk, everybody was cheering us on. Nobody was saying, "Oh, that Tom, he's taken a while. Let's just let him crawl forever." Like it didn't happen. You didn't have that doubt. It was somewhere over time where all of this stuff created, whether it's wanting to be like somebody. It's interesting when you think about the older siblings, when you look at, and I know you're a documentary junkie like I am when it comes to that sort of stuff. And when you look at the second child to the star athlete, or the child that's, I don't know, do you skip grades anymore? But the A student, the hockey or the football player that gets the high marks and he's got the beautiful girl and everything else, and then that kid that's living in the shadows, right? Like that's where all that stuff comes from. And if we don't figure it out, we can carry that on till death.
And I think the thing it's when you're saying that, this is because I'm getting old. I when I get flashbacks, or I use that word flashbacks, I'm not having some like hippie movement, just so people know.
We don't
So it's honestly, it's not what's happening. I don't have lights going on and stuff.
don't have
I'm gonna make you. I'm gonna make you spill your drink all over you.
my
But I grew up. So I grew up in Toronto. Born in Ottawa, there for younger, but most of my school life was in Toronto. And I was a small kid. I was the oldest, but poor. Had trauma earlier that I didn't know how to deal with because this is late 60s, early 70s, right? And I remember I was smart, and I say I was dumb smart. And when I left Ottawa, Michelle, I don't think you know this, when I left Ottawa, I couldn't speak English. So when I left Ottawa and moved to Toronto, I know, is that weird? I don't know. Japanese, no, French.
English?
I spoke French.
English, like our mom?
No, I was around French people.
Oh, la la.
So I spoke French, right? I don't know it was good French because our mom doesn't speak good French.
I did.
But when I went to Toronto, I skipped a grade because of it, because of the schooling system was different, right?
Yeah.
But when I went to school, because I was smart, but we were poor, I went to a rich school in Scarborough. I went to actually a smart school. The school was called West Hill Collegiate Institute, still there in Scarborough. It was back then, I remember it was like thousands of people. We had a big, like Olympic sized swimming pool. Kids that turned 16 there had brand new Mustangs. It was crazy, right? But I was smart, and I wasn't study smart. This would be nature, for I believe.
Right.
And all of the 60s things I did with whatever didn't deter me, but I was actually an A student.
Good.
But I somehow, I don't know, through the chemical things in my brain, I retained information, just kind of who I was, right?
Yeah.
But I was so talking about your identity and who you are, but I was really bullied. I was bullied at school, and because I was poor, like physically bullied, and then I was bullied at home by my sister, who's not on here right now. But and her and I are over it, but it's what was put onto her, right?
That's right.
And so it's the reason I'm talking about that. Me and Michelle want to be vulnerable with who we are with you guys because it should be authentic, right?
Yeah.
But if I have the total I don't know, I call it a blessing, was other word, like looking back from this spot to back then and seeing, like, it's hard, but seeing how the don't quit spirit for a lot of us, right?
That's right.
But you look back then and going, man, how did people navigate through that?
Right.
And we didn't have the information and the tools back then. So in a way, like Michelle said, like this is tough, like the school, like there's radical, there's just like craziness going on. But I believe in the midst of that, there's good stuff like what we're trying to do. There's
Right.
lots of good stuff, right? So here's a quick question: Are you bringing Elaine on? Are we going to do a three-way
No,
talk?
no, no. But she just wanted to share about that book. So I wrote it down, The Radical Awakening by Dr. Shafali. She had read it recently. It's about being your authentic self. I'll just
Love it.
find something on it and I'll share it on the page later. She said she has a thunderstorm, so she might be
So
gone.
so the other thing I was going to say too, yeah, I could see there's a group of people on. The other thing I was going to say too, for those listening now and those that come on, at some point, not a rush, and if if you're a little bit nervous, it's okay. We want to down the road invite people to be part of this. Where we've
Yeah,
got some list of people we want that are in this field that would be good.
yeah.
People working through trauma, people that are professionals. But I would also like to, if you're interested and you're part of our group, we won't make you uncomfortable. If we ask something you're not comfortable with, you can always say no. But I'm going to tell you something. You're going to benefit from it
That's
by you. We just grow from it. But here's two questions, Michelle. Just put in people's brains. I'll put them on later. What would you say are your characteristics of your identity today? That's question one, right? So I want you to think about. Let me get back to my note here. Our identity comes from self-concept, self-image, our mental model of oneself, self-esteem, and stuff, right? So what do we see are the characteristics of our identity today? So depending on personality, you might go negative, you might go positive. The thing I would encourage people to say is find the really good traits you like about yourself. And if there's something you want to work on, that's okay. But if you're a really insecure person, as soon as you have one negative thing, it snowballs the 10 great things. So know who you are. So the question was, what do you see now in yourself that you find in your identity, some characteristics? The second question is, what do you want your identity to be? And it doesn't, I'm not saying this in the sense of our culture. We said earlier where we're trying to keep up with the Kardashians, whatever. This is to do with you. I believe, like I said earlier with Michelle, not that Michelle doesn't have any goals. She's just this is it for her life. She's gonna vaporize or something. But I think both of us have learned to accept who we are.
100%. Absolutely. Where I'm at right now in real time.
And what are values that me and you have right now that which affects our identity? We want to have positive influence and encouragement and love for our kids and our grandkids and our family. And I bet everybody on here. So in that, this idea of identity, it's just a word type thing, right? But we talk about mental wellness, we talk about who we are. Sometimes it's so hard to get unstuck. And the way you get unstuck, like I have a couple people I counsel that I say, don't focus on what you think is just because of the personality. Don't focus on what you think is the negative thing. Oh, I just always I'm so down on myself. I said, okay, let's leave that. Let's not talk about it because they get down on themselves and like
for sure.
45 minutes later, see you in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And I say, okay, what's something in a way of this, instead of getting down on yourself, what's something for you that is a positive component of that? Well, I'd like to be more confident. The one person said, right? And this is a female, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I know this from my work kind of thing. So what can you do to be more confident? So simple, this is counseling, right? Simple little things. You know what you do? Michelle's taught me some of this stuff. You wake up in the morning, you look at yourself, you say, hey, you do the fawn. No, you do the fawn. There we go. You have to invest, you have to verbally tell yourself, you have to write down whatever. You don't have to go try to fix all of the broken parts. You now have to bring on moving forward. You got to invest your language and your mind and action into your true self.
That's right.
And we were created not to blow people up and be awful. The world's awful, right? We were made to be compassionate, be empathetic, to be kind.
Yeah.
Like that's I believe the true DNA of humanity.
Oh, me
um,
too,
and
100%.
just be you, right? So, anyways,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it is our, yeah, we're, when you look at, okay, so I acknowledge all different species fight for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, every being on this planet is here to, you know, um, to live your best life, whatever that looks like, to feed your, to be a hunter or a gatherer, to procreate, to have joy, whatever gives you joy in your life. And I think it's so important. I like what you said about I'm not done yet, because none of us are done yet. So it's important to, hey, Ronnie, it's important, yeah, your purpose. It's important to realize that you're always changing, you're always moving and evolving and figuring out like where you fit in and acknowledging that, you know what, I might not be, really good at, this is just for an example, I might not be the best daughter in the world, but I'm a really good mom. I have that down. Or maybe as a mom, I had my struggles, but damn it, I'm a good nana, right? And looking at, and damn it, I am. That's a fact. And so looking at that and realizing, okay, and being honest and true, not when you're emotional. When you're emotional, it's not going to work. But again, when you're in that cold, calm state, just looking and saying, okay, well, these are my strengths. This is what I'm really good at. I have integrity. That's something that is very important to me. And I'm very consistent. So those are strengths. I'm also very kind. So with those three things as my foundation, I can move forward. And then how can I lean on that? It's so funny because my topic for my group I just came from was your personal superpowers. And these are three of my superpowers that I can carry forward. So even though, I have some areas to work on, I can lean on those and I can know that this is my strength or my superpower. I can take that and go next level. And I can always be open to improve and be better. My story's not over yet. I've gone in leaps and bounds over the last 56 years. But at the same time, I'm not done yet. What am I going to be like at 66 when I'm as old as you, Tom? What am I going to be like? What am I going to be like 10 years after that? Or now I'm a nana. One day I'm going to be a great nana, right? Or a Gigi or whatever. So what's that going to look like? And what can I take forward with me? Alice said to me one day, so she's 9, she'll be 10 in December. And she says, Nana, were you as nice to my dad when he was a kid as you are to me? I laughed. I said, well, Alice, life was so much like my responsibilities were different. Like your dad's got to be the heavy. I can be Nana with chocolate. Like it's a whole different thing, right? Nana doesn't have bedtimes, but your dad did, So it's just so interesting. But I think unless you can accept yourself with all your perfections and your flaws, every single person that's watching me right now is good at something. I fully believe that as sure as I'm sitting here. Not every day, there is no perfection, but we're always growing and we're always evolving. So you have a few things down and then take from that. What do you want to move forward? What do you want to leave behind? Sort of like what we talked about a couple weeks ago, right? When we did our 6-month review. What worked well? What didn't? I mean, if we're not learning, what are we doing? We're just going to be stuck like a record on skip. If you're not old enough to know what a record on skip is, please ask Tom. But that's sort of where you get stuck when you're not forgiving, you're anger, you're bitter, you're comparing. Gossip is also, I try not, it's something I try to rein in, gossip and the negativity. That is such a big thing, right? If you have laser focus on everything that's wrong with the world, you're going
yeah,
to be in a dark, sad place.
yeah, and I think too, I put something on here. Thanks, Krista, for sharing what you shared. It was so good. She just talked about because I wrote down embrace the journey, but she wrote down about a friend of hers says she's not the person they were 10 years ago or 10 this whole thing,
Yes,
right?
right?
And and here's the thing is to recognize um, recognize the things physically, mentally, emotionally that fight against you, right?
Yeah.
So it could be culture, it could be your own mind, it could be your body, by the way, right? So you want to find, like I was sick for a while. We missed one of the shows a few weeks ago, and my white blood cell count had doubled, right? And so my body was telling me, or telling the medical people that were helping me, that my body was fighting an infection or disease. So we think it's an infection. I seem to be fine now. I'll have a couple more checkups. But the same way about mental wellness, if like there's people that are could be sad all the time. They go, why am I sad? Was it?
Yeah.
And so and if they're sad and they have fears, phobias,
Yeah.
it takes work. It takes time to kind of overcome that, because I don't believe that's who you're supposed to be. I shared on there. I use movies. So by the way, I like reality shows, but not the stupid ones. Well, somebody might say they're stupid. I like shows like The Amazing Race, The Mole, that. And the reason I like some of these shows, Survivor was fine too. I don't care. I'm not really a Hollywood guy, but the social interaction, like, so to be put on
Yeah.
an island and you're doing for a prize for $1 million, like all of a sudden you're doing something for money. What causes your character to crack? You know, somebody's really nice and all of a sudden they deceive somebody, right?
Right.
And I know some, like, okay, I know what those love shows are about, but those ones I like. The other ones are
Me
stupid,
too.
right?
Me
But
too.
it's interesting on what that's to do with money, maybe fame, what shifts our thing, right? I shared again. It's on Prime. You can look up wherever else it is. If you have not seen Into the Wild, have you seen it yet, Michelle?
I have. Very funny.
Okay. A lot. No, not the funny one.
Not the funny one?
No, this is a true story. This is a
Oh,
young man whose
interesting. I
dad wants him to be a
haven't.
doctor. Oh, so it's on there. It's on Amazon. If you don't have Amazon, you can look and see where it's at.
I have it. Yeah.
The gist about identity, this is like for our type of people, Michelle. I don't know what our type of people are, but um,
Awesome
I just
one.
said I was gonna make a joke about Trumpsters, but no, or Hulk Hogan, right? But the movie's about a young man who's supposed to go to Harvard, and he's sitting with his sister and his mom and dad. And his dad, you can tell, is like the power of the house. And his dad gave him money, you know, to go to school and that. So they're sitting there, and in him, he doesn't want to go to school, right? So dad leaves. He's probably lived in this thing, like, this is a character. It's a true story, actually. He probably has lived in this idea of like never pleasing dad, never good enough, trying to live dad's dreams, blah blah blah, right? So he actually gives the money for school. I think it was a check, actually, or he gets a check or a money order, and I think he gives it to Oxfam or something like that.
Oh,
He's got a beat up vehicle, and he basically drives through America wanting to experience life.
oh,
And um, and it's a bit sad at the end, but one of the funniest things is, so he's trying to be real, right? And he
yeah,
meets all these people along this journey,
yeah.
and it's self-discovery. And one of the funny parts, I'm not reading the movie, in the middle of the movie, he's in Colorado, and he wants to kayak the Colorado River. So he just goes to get a boat. So, well, you need a permit. You need a permit? Okay. So he goes to the permit office in town. They go, oh, well, like, we can't issue permits for a year. He goes, I have to wait a year to like go down a river.
Right.
So he goes down the river anyways, lawbreaker.
Right.
And as he goes
Right.
down, he sees this is the only nudity in this movie, and it's funny if you can fast forward, right? So he's going down this river, and he sees this kind of hippie Danish man and woman on the beach,
Hmm.
and the woman is topless, right?
Hmm.
And she's swimming water, and in this great Dutch accent. Oh, hello, my friend, come join us and stuff, right? And it's hilarious. And there's other different people, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So this isn't a book club. Maybe we'll do a movie club once in a while or get feedback.
Yeah.
I would love your feedback, because the way I see stuff like this, it speaks so much to me. And this is a true story. There's a book, if you like reading the book. Another movie, different but the same, is a movie called The Van, where this elderly woman lives in a van.
I don't think I've seen that one either. I'm taking
See, I'm
it.
giving you free movie advice, my friends.
There you go. Well, Ron's seen the one you're just talking about. He said so good. Very good.
So Ron, give us a 2 sentence thing on here. Thanks that you loved it. Give your words something that it stood out to you in that movie.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely, you said that one's on Prime, right?
It's on Amazon Prime. That's
Yeah.
the link. It could be other on other platforms, right?
Yeah, good. Excellent. Well, and you know what? When you watch these kind of movies, that's what's healthy for you, right? You're going through it, you're living it with them, you're having the experience. It's so funny. I thought of the other one because they smoked a lot of dope in the other one, not the same
Yeah.
sort of movie. But yeah, that's very good. And this is what's much healthier than watching the news or watching anything to do with the drama, whether it's in Hollywood or in the real world right now. If we turn that off and we turn this stuff on, we're going to be so much better for it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And part of it too, so we live in a world where for most of us we don't like ourselves, right? So back to my story as a kid, I didn't, through the trauma and abuse that I'd been through as a 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 year old, like Michelle and I said, and this isn't to do with, my mom went through what she went through. I can't even imagine what she went through. But as an eldest brother, I had this thing I had to work through called inverted parent, where I remember my mom saying to me, "Oh, like you're the man of the house now," with no bad intention.
No,
But this thing about all of my siblings going sideways, I wore the brunt of it. Now, my mom would never have wanted that, 100%. She would cry,
for
right?
sure. That's
That's she was just trying to survive her trauma, right?
right.
But it's interesting what Krista said too about her friend, but I believe it's for all of us. You're walking with the knowledge and information and support and whatever of today. 5, 10, 20 years ago, you didn't have it. Michelle, with the group that you work for, WW, right? WW shifted from just focusing on weight, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Weight's a side effect of working on this and
It's a
everything.
whole holistic thing, right?
That's right.
So
That's
they
right.
understood, and this is what I appreciate about them. And I haven't done a lot of stuff with them and whatever, right? But what I appreciate about that, it's not it. I mean, they have to support, like there's costs. I have no problem with businesses having
Sure.
costs. Coffee shop has costs, right?
Yep.
But they understood what was needed for the culture. And like for me, I had a national sales meeting today. I've had like friggin' sorry, like 7 teams meeting this week. I like them, but they drive me crazy. And we're trying to help customers in a very tough environment. So I don't feel bad that there's a cost of service because I'm trying to help them like be successful and be smart with their business and do well, right?
Right.
And that's the same thing that WW does. There's lots of really good things out there that are trying to help people um, with goodness. Like, and there's groups. There's actually not even groups. There's actually individuals that are doing things
That's right.
that make a difference in this world. One of the guys, a couple of guys I watched. Do you know Zac Efron?
I do. Yep.
So
Not
he's on a show. What's that?
Not personally, but yes.
Yeah, it is my friend. But there was a show on Netflix. I can't remember what it was. I like these kind of documentary type shows. And him and this friend of his, that's a surfer dude that probably smoked a lot of dope, just throwing it out there, or he looks like it. But they go around to different parts of the world and they,
Love it.
you know the show I'm talking about?
I do. I've watched every episode. That's my sort of show.
I watch it and then I've gone back to watch it and I've seen it. Teresa goes like, "Why are you watching it again?" I said, "I don't know. There's this excitement about new and wanting to learn. Like if we can as people embrace that, not be fearful, like get rid of negativity, right? If we're willing to go to learn, right? I have a friend on here. I'm not going to mention this person by name. She'll know who it is. She can say something she wants. Oh, person, say her, whatever. And she had the she had the ability, her and her husband, which are really good friends of mine. I don't see them enough, but I've known this person and her husband for years. But they had the privilege of adopting, and and I know that it's changed their lives, right? Because again, you don't know what you don't know. You see people with kids and all these things, but now all of a sudden you're experiencing it. And by the way, you're experiencing the not getting sleep at night. You're experiencing sick baby.
That's
But
right.
then you're experiencing this incredible joy and you're looking at this person, this young life that you're investing in. So it changes you, right? So
Absolutely.
kudos to my friend who's on here.
I love that.
And
Kudos.
kudos to my
the
son who
friend.
just walked in and my wife.
Very good. Hey, Ethan. Hey, Teresa. So actually, you mentioning that Zac Efron one made me think of Teresa and I, not together, but we both were big fans of, was it called Departure?
Oh yeah.
The two Canadian guys. I love that show. And if Teresa knows whatever happened to those guys, I would be interested in knowing. But that was
You have
another.
to tell her what happened to them.
Not right now.
Teresa, no, not now. Teresa will message you. Teresa,
Okay.
because she had this thing for like chefs and meeting people. Well, me too a bit.
I
Who
know
did you
what
meet? Who did you meet off there?
Justin Luca.
She met her and Emily, Justin, Luca. We have pictures.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I saw them. That's how I knew we were soul sisters. Because, and again, it was so interesting. Like you're learning about them, but you're learning about culture. You're learning about traveling. You're learning about like everything they experience. So for me, like I want to do some traveling in my life, but I don't need to go and travel to all these other countries. I can live it through all of these. Anthony Bourdain, he's another, like all these people. And then the food part of it is so fascinating, right? The stuff they're eating and experiencing, and with that show Departures, I'm sure it's probably on YouTube or somewhere reruns. With that one, also the elements of travel was interesting with them, that they had to get the car, that the wheels were or whatever those dynamics were, right? And then they tried alcohol everywhere they went. That
That
would
was
interest me, but that was funny, right? All the different things.
because it was real.
It was
It
so
was
real.
real, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I
And
would
and I
totally
would
love to do that.
so Departures is available on DVD because of course I bought the DVDs.
Oh, love it.
So I'm same with Anthony Bourdain for those that I'm going to give you a little tidbit, a free encouragement to everybody. But Anthony Bourdain, I think we mentioned, me and Teresa had one of our heroes had a chance to go see him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Outside of being in the food industry, which we both love in food,
Yeah.
His greatest strength was his communication, his writing, right?
Yeah.
And here's a man, it's like the Robin Williams story. These are men that had demons they wrestled with and both lost their lives, right? And but in the midst of the reality of life, they communicate. That's the same as with Departures, right?
Right.
Here's a freebie, and again, all of us are in different circumstances, right? The food thing is so important. In some other cultures, it's really important.
Yeah.
With COVID and with everything happened, it's very easy to be segregated.
Yes.
The way it is, right?
Yeah.
Some cultures and some restaurants that I deal with, I don't know, it's probably in Ontario, there's some bigger restaurants that they've had this thing for a few years now called family tables, where they're the big tables and it's just for a group, right? So
Yeah.
one of my encouragements for people to do, try for a couple of weeks, I'll bug you, I'll ask, is try to have somebody over that's not your grandkids that you babysit every day or whatever. Try to, in your own circumstance, and maybe it is like with me, Michelle, it's a child who doesn't live at home or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Try to do something around food. And the other thing with it, I'm not a chef snob. Teresa's making dinner tonight. Teresa cooks easily as well as me. What are you making again?
Za'atar chicken and a pita.
She's doing Greek. We're doing Greek food.
Ooh,
So she's
nice.
cooking while I talk, right? So we love doing food together, right? But if you come up with, even outside with nice weather, a picnic, do this idea of family share food. Have people bring different things. because what most people will bring, by the way, in this part of their identity, as we're talking about, they will bring something that they feel they're good at,
Yep,
outside of buying a bag of chips and a six-pack of pop, by the way. But even
right.
if that's, but even if they do that, but it would be interesting to get feedback. There's something about um, connecting socially outside of our safety zones, right? And
Oh,
in it,
absolutely.
Teresa tomorrow, her best friend, her hiking friend, is an Indian woman, and they hike. So her daughter's getting married soon, Teresa. So if you haven't been to an Indian wedding, which I've not been to, but Teresa has,
I have.
it is, you can't have 100 people. You have to have like 2,000 people. And the food and the social is just, it's their culture, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying to have a party at the beach and do that, but find a way of doing some socializing around food.
I love
And
that.
in that, if you're brave,
Yeah.
or if you've got friends you haven't talked to for a while, then catch up on their story. Say, hey, tell me your story. What's up?
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And food is our love language. So
Yeah.
tying it all in together, right? That's why people pray and they're thankful for the meal. It's the energy, it's the whole thing. I love that. And I also love Teresa. Great to hear you in the background, Teresa.
Hello, darling. I love you.
I love you too. Send me the deets on the destination, guys. Okay, so before we go, because I know dinner's brewing, and maybe if I count my chickens right, Al will make my dinner tonight. We'll see.
I'll just to tease you guys. I'll post a picture on our group. I'll take a picture of
Oh,
dinner.
yeah, do it. So I do have a very short video I want to leave with. I have one for next week, but we're going to talk about it first if you want it to tie in with our topic. But I have a very short one for today I would like to leave you with. So bear with me one moment. This is a super special one, and I know you're going to love it. I've shared this one for years. Let's see if I can do it right this time. Okay, so here we go. And volume up.
Oh my word!
It is. I
I've
love it.
got tears.
Yeah, right? And you know what? She's an adult today. I always have these very old videos. She's an adult today and she reflects on that with joy. But isn't that the way we should all be? Just banging it out. I love my house. I love it all.
You got to send it to me so I can send it to my daughter. But you know what, Michelle, this whole idea of being encouraged and then being encouragement to others
Yep.
is so important. Something about kids and kittens, the kids,
Yeah.
something like that. Like how can you be like mad? I'm sure there is people. Like how can you, like how does that not just shift you, right?
Right. Exactly. That's why we're ending on it today. Good
Yeah.
vibes.
So so do you have we haven't done quotes for a while. Do you have a quote, or is that just a movie thing?
No, I
I have
do.
something. If you're looking for a quote,
You got one?
so I talked about earlier about Into the Wild, which is pretty serious, but such a great movie. Here's another one of my favorite movies. Watch every year that I'm pretty sure most of you have watched with kids or grandkids. It's a Christmas special called. It's a movie called Elf.
Love it.
Okay, Will Ferrell is, if you like his humor or not, but I can picture him like when you're showing that girl and going, now I know it's a character, it's a movie,
Yeah.
but he believed he was an elf
Right.
in there. And then because of this environment he goes into nasty New York, and he like, I think of when he goes into that place going,
Oh,
you got the world's greatest coffee, because I'm coughing up, right? Congratulations, right? He didn't know any better. He just, that was just who he was, right?
yeah.
So there's
Exactly.
something about investing, put in good, doesn't have to be all sugary. I'm not talking about like sugar stuff, but put in, wake in the morning, have good thoughts. That, like that video, do this sense of embracing an attitude of I want the best things in life. Say, I don't want the negative stuff, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You are what you eat.
That, yeah, see, I love that. Hashtag you are what you eat.
Yep, whatever that is, whatever the cool
That's right.
kids do.
Hashtags. Hashtags. Very
Okay.
good. All right,
So you
everybody. Thank you for
you have a
joining.
saying?
No, that was,
Make one up.
I have one actually. Joe Dirt or Joe Dirte. Keep on keeping on. That's my saying. Peace.
There we go.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a great
everybody.
week. Thanks for coming.
Bye.